So good day, Ma'am Helena Salon. I am Erica Ibatanay and I am from BPA 4A. So today I am going to present to you my policy. So the policy that I would like to develop is the implementation of penalties for curfew hours violators. So without further ado, let's begin. So information. It is crucial for both local officials and communities to be aware of the sanctions for youths in a barangay who violate curfew hours. The specifics on the precise curfew hours, the penalties or repercussions for breaking curfew laws, and any exceptions or accommodations are often included in the available material. For citizens to comprehend the regulations and any consequences, especially parents and children, they need to have access to this information. To successfully implement these curfew laws, local authorities, including barangay officials and law enforcement, need this information. To maintain public order and safety at all times, especially at night when curfew laws are frequently enforced, the information is required. It is communicated using a variety of media platforms such as the official announcements, websites for regional governments, community gatherings, and so on. So anyone can access this data. So curfew hours violators here in Barangay Santonita Lower Marber are what a big matter right now. No? Most likely to violate are some of the youths, and despite the fact that everyone is aware of the policy, there are still people who tend to violate it since there is no strict implementation of this matter. So some youths and other adults, they often take advantage of the no strict implementation prior to this. That is why from 10 p.m. onwards, there are still residents here in our barangay who still loitering outside, and other youths are still strolling outside. And I can see that this is really a big matter since those who violate curfew hours are vulnerable to crime, trouble, or danger, and some youths like what we call early pregnancy. So there is still something lacking about the vigilance and action of those barangay police officers, or shall we say the barangay tanong, who don't take the initiative to observe thoroughly those violators. So this policy is really for those violators, specifically for the youth, since they are the ones who often violate it. This policy is all about the penalties that will be received by those violators. So first offense is community service. So the violator will have a cleaning session for 4 hours, and second offense will be the community service with 1,000 pesos penalty, and third offense is community service with 1,500 cash penalty. So let's proceed to the issues. Penalties for curfew hours violators, especially young people in a barangay, have a history of controversy and changing problems. Curfew breaches by young people have historically caused worry because they might endanger their safety and can cause disturbances. However, discussion concerning the necessity and efficacy of the punitive measure are present in developing situations. Others may disagree, stating that such policies might unfairly target vulnerable groups or fall short of addressing the underlying reasons of curfew breaches. Some community members and authorities may concur that fines are required to uphold order and protection of the young people. Curfew enforcement difficulties are evolving as attention shifts to developing more reasonable solutions that combine sanctions with neighborhood-based initiatives and assistance for youths at risk. So let's proceed to the impacts. The implementation of penalties for curfew hours violators, specifically targeting the youth here in our barangay, will affect several groups intentionally and unintentionally. Intentionally, it will primarily impact the youth who violate the curfew regulations, as they will face penalties such as fines and community service. Additionally, parents or guardians of this youth may also be held responsible if they knowingly allow or encourage their children to violate the curfew. Unintentionally, other members of the community could be affected if the legislation is not carefully implemented. For instance, if law enforcement is not trained adequately, there might be cases of mistaken identity or over policing, leading to unintended consequences for innocent individuals. Therefore, it is crucial to ensure that legislation is well defined and enforced with fairness and discretion to minimize unintended consequences. The short-term effects of this legislation is that it will probably minimize the violators, of course, and the long-term effects is that it will develop the sense of responsibility and respect to barangay ordinances. So, so let's proceed to the implications of this policy. This legislation that seeks to penalize people who violate curfew hours and targets young people in Barangay Lower Marbor has a number of implications. So first is it could serve as deterrent to youth engaging in illegal activities during curfew hours for the individuals targeted, thereby enhancing the public safety. However, there is a chance that during curfew hours, vulnerable youth or those without access to the alternative might disproportionately affected. People who are not specifically targeted may become more conscious of community safety, but they may experience interruptions as a result of increased law enforcement activity during curfew hours. To guarantee uniformity and prevent disputes, the legislation should be in accordance with existing federal, state, and municipal laws. Community, nonprofit, and faith-based groups may need to adapt their programs to accommodate the curfew regulations and offer support to affected youth. Government agencies would need to allocate resources for enforcement and community outreach. So, overall, this legislation could foster safer neighborhoods but needs careful implementation to avoid unintended consequences to the vulnerable youth. So, last but not the least, the imperatives of this policy. Impose sanctions on young people who violate the curfew hours in Barangay Lower Marbor. The goal of this measure is to improve neighborhood safety at night, deter youths from engaging in potentially harmful activities, and uphold local peace. Because curfew violations can result in an increase in crime, accidents, and disruptions, quick action is necessary. We should take immediate action as responsible community members and leaders to protect the health of our children and maintain a pleasant neighborhood to everyone. Failure to respond might lead to an increase in disruptions, property destruction, and juvenile delinquency, which would endanger our community safety and the standard of living. So the implementation of penalties for curfew or violators falls under the purview of state agency model. So in this model, a government agency or authority is responsible for enforcing and regulating the curfew rules, determining penalties and ensuring compliance. The state agency has the legal authority to establish and enforce curfews, making it a key player in maintaining law and order, while there may be interactions with third-party entities such as law enforcement agencies or legal professionals. The primary responsibility for curfew enforcement and penalty imposition typically rests with the state agency model. So that would be all. Thank you.